Do you get frustrated because you're not getting enough in return? Do you have this feeling all the time that why is that I am shortchanged for what I deserve in my life? Well, in this story written by the great Rabindranath Tagore, we find an answer. Hey folks, I am CSK and you're watching me on my channel CSKSpeaks. Welcome. You know what? In my life, I have asked this question n number of times that why is it that I don't get everything what I want? I keep asking this question as to what else I need to do. What is that one thing or many things which I am not doing? If somebody can tell me, so that I will finish that like a checklist and I get in return all that and more what I want and I deserve. And I am sure if you are like me, you will also have experienced something similar. You would have also questioned yourself that why is that I am not getting in spite of my best effort, in spite of doing whatever I think I have done the best. Well, the answer to that is simple. Whenever we ask that question, that why is that I'm not getting what I want, our focus is in receiving. Our focus, like the limelight, is shining on taking, receiving, collecting. While, truth be told, the purpose of our life should revolve around giving, should revolve around contributing, should revolve around expressing to the best of our capacity. Let's make this simple. Let's go back to that particular story from the great Rabindranath Tagore and understand what does giving entail. So, Tagore writes in his book, and I quote, "There lived a beggar who was not very happy with his life, arguably. A beggar whose routine did not involve excitement or any adventure. A beggar who had no great possessions. All he had was a torn piece of cloth, a blanket, and his dress and a begging bowl. With that, he used to run around the city like a nomad, run around the whole place, figuring out if he can make the most of his day begging. One fine day, he walks out to a new location, to a new place, and that's the high street of that particular kingdom. And then he decides that, okay, here is where I'm going to get my fortune. And this movie keeps playing in his mind the same little question which I started off this video as to why he, in spite of doing his best, not able to collect more and more alms, more and more people contributing into his begging bowl. And he tries to figure out different locations, situations, but he fails. So this day, he says, what if this is his lucky day? What if today he's going to get the most of his effort or for his effort? So he decides on that high street to occupy a central position. And then he sits there begging, waiting for people to come and drop those currency notes into his ball, those valuable things into his ball, so that he can make the most of his day. As he was sitting and visualizing all of this, playing that little movie in his mind, he was woken up to the vibrations of the ground. And when he saw around, he saw soldiers marching into that high street. And then announcements followed that the king, the emperor, is making rounds, and today he has chosen to come out on that main high street. So the beggar was excited. He thought, my intuition was right. My intuition was right that today is going to be that lucky day. Today is that adventurous day where I am going to maximize the returns of my work. So without wasting any time, he got up, picked up his begging ball, and then took a central position, front of the sideway, waiting to get a glimpse of the king. Many people who heard the announcement also were excited. So without much delay, all of them started assembling on either side of that high road, waiting to catch a glimpse of the king. And then all the paraphernalia followed. The soldiers were marching, then there were arrangements, the flowers were thrown onto the street, and there were music and band and everything. And there finally comes the chariot. The chariot, which was shining thanks to the sunlight on the golden chariot, that it was shining like a mythical creature. As the beggar was looking at all of that glamour, he wished secretly that if today, by any chance, by a stroke of luck, if the king can spare a few moments and look at him and take care of him by giving him something out of kindness, his begging will stop and he can turn a new leaf in his life from tomorrow. As luck would have it, at that very moment, as he was completing his thought, king looked at the beggar and both their eyes met. It went further. It was like a magical moment for the beggar when the king maintained eye contact with him. King immediately asked the people to stop the procession. His chariot stopped and king alighted out of the chariot. He got down. He walked straight to the beggar without disturbing the eye contact. And when he came in front of the beggar had already created that entire mental picture that today he's going to ask and take everything possible from the king so that he doesn't have to do begging anymore. But to his rude shock or rude surprise, the king in turn asked him by stretching his hand forward, asked him, "What can you give me?" When he saw the king's hand coming right in front of his face, beggar was disappointed, and his disappointment was visible on his face, because there he stood expecting to be given, but here the emperor, the king, is actually standing and asking him in return from this beggar. He was feeling disgusted as to what kind of an emperor, a king this man is, that he is not even sparing a beggar in his kingdom, and he's standing in front of the public and asking me. He is even bigger a beggar than me. With that disappointment, he looked down into the bowl and he had a few grains and a few coins. He didn't want to give him the coins. He didn't even want to give him the grains, but it is the king who is asking, and there were soldiers around him. So he said, okay, since he is there, and not to create any further scene, he picked out the smallest of the smallest grain from his bowl and handed it over to the king. And even before the king could have thanked him, he turned around and walked away. King took that grain, went back to the chariot, and continued with the procession. Now you can imagine the situation of the beggar. For him, it was like a free fall from a 30,000 foot peak. He expected something, but the day turned out to be totally another thing. Disappointed, dejected, devastated, the beggar goes back to his hiding, where he spends the rest of the night. Middle of the night, since he could not sleep after all that disappointment, he looked at his begging bowl and he saw something shining in it. And when he saw that shining piece in that darkness, he woke up and then he put his hand into the begging bowl only to discover that there was one small, minute grain which had turned gold. He looked at that and verified it, and after observing closely, he realized that that is indeed a golden grain. Now the beggar realized what an idiot he had been. If only he had given away everything what he had to the king, his bowl would have been filled with gold. And there he sat, realizing his mistake. There he sat, realizing that when it is our opportunity to give, we should give as if there is no tomorrow. We should give whatever we have, we should give 100%. And friends, that's exactly what I meant by saying, when you expect the best, your focus should be on giving the best and not receiving the best. Because only when you give, you get. So the next time we are all expecting the best out of life, pause for a moment and take a step back and ask, am I giving my best? Am I giving my 100%? Because I see a lot of people coming into my life complaining. In fact, I have been there sometimes complaining as to why am I not getting the best? Well, the answer is simple. The limelight should shine on giving rather than receiving. You may be a student expecting that gift or that pocket money or that great job or that good marks. You may be a professional expecting that promotion or expecting that hike or expecting to be sent on site. You may be somebody else like a businessman or a homemaker, an entrepreneur or a sports person or a teacher or educator or a banker. In every walk of life, even as a parent, you want the best. The secret is simple. Give as if there is no tomorrow. And only when you do that, you get the best. In fact, let me tell about myself. Why do I do these videos every week, week after week? Some may not even be seen, some may not even be understood, and some may not even get popular. But then I said, if I want to get the best of guidance, tools, techniques, the only way is to give the tools, the techniques, and the guidance I have to people around me. And that's why I have made it my life's mission to share, to inspire, to educate youth and the Gen Z, the millennials of today and tomorrow with practicable tools, with simple life perspectives so that it can help them along their way. Because back then, when I was walking that path till where I have reached, I did not get the guidance the way I would have expected. But I always ask that question, why am I not getting? Without realizing that it is only in giving you will expect to get, or you can create that environment to get. And once I realized that, I made it my purpose to give away whatever best I have as if there is no tomorrow. As Pablo Picasso rightly said, the true purpose in life is to give away the gift that you have in your life. So friends, remember Tagore and his story, remember the golden grain, remember giving, and remember, giver gets more. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for giving me your time and watching this video. Stay safe and take care.